Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to everybody who's watching us live on Talksopedia, and I welcome you all to yet another exciting episode. Talksopedia is an online talk show where we invite people who have made some difference in others' lives, people who inspire us to be ourselves. And today we have a special guest all the way from UAE who's going to teach us how can we be ourselves. Now, she is the best-selling author on Amazon, the founder of Purpose Path, a book writing consultant. She has worked as a journalist for 20 years in various reputed media institutions in India and in UAE that include Gulf News, Dubai Media Incorporated, and Deccan Chronicle. She also conducts various courses that include BU coaching and also helps and guides people to write and publish their book. She has written 3 books. Her first book, Anamika, her second book, Step Out and Step It Up, and her third book is now become the best-selling book on Amazon. We will talk more about it, but before that, let me invite our special guest, my namesake, Nisha Sanjeev, onto the screen. Nisha, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Nisha. Thank you so much for having me over.
Thank you so much for coming over. And while we were having a conversation, I came to know that she's from the same place where I belong to. And that is yet another great thing that happened today. And her husband is from Chhattisgarh. It's a place which is very, very close to where I grew up. I grew up in Madhya Pradesh. So there are a lot of similarities between us. I'm so happy.
Apart from the name.
Yes.
Apart from the name to begin with.
Correct. How are you today?
Great, Nisha.
All right. Now, I have been reading your posts on LinkedIn, Facebook, and I know so many things about you. But today, our viewers want to know, what is your story?
Well, my story, Nisha, has a lot of layers and textures to it. So putting it in this half an hour time space would be impossible. So I would, in a nutshell, if I were to say my story, I would conclude it as like, I have transcended social ambiguity. That's who I am today. Because I've transcended social ambiguity, I found myself. I'm being me, and I've arrived. So to give you a brief, I was born into a South Indian lower middle class family, brought up in the twin cities of Hyderabad, Secunderabad. My father was the only working person, my mom a housewife, and typical end-to-end survival where my dad had to borrow money every month. So, but we never went out for dinner, or we never went out on holidays. The holidays we took was staycations with my grandparents. But the only thing that my parents were determined on giving us and never compromised was education. And convent education at that, when I'm talking about the late 80s and the 90s, when it was damn expensive on one person's salary. So that is my foundation. That's the good of it. Now coming to the how it has affected me and why I say I transcended all that social ambiguity is because I went to a convent school and I was brought up in a strict Malayali culture. I was bullied in school for my pronunciation, for my accent. Hey, Mallu, So it started there. My teachers used to laugh at me. My grade 4 teacher laughed at me and I stopped speaking. I became an introverted child. Absolutely, forget being shy. I was scared of speaking, where I would be judged because I was in such an environment. Added to that, we come from a very affluent family as such. So I became a very sensitive child, absorbing everything, and I saw how my parents were being looked down upon. Now in Hyderabad, Secunderabad, my parents were in their glory. When I say in their glory, they were confident, they knew what they were doing, they were raising 2 beautiful kids, everything was there. Of course, in that, we had our ups and downs, but they were the confident, our heroes and our hero, my hero and my heroine. But when we go back to our hometown, because we were going into a family of affluent relatives, becoming that sensitive child early on in my, primary years, I started absorbing how my parents were being looked down upon, how they were being spoken to, just because we belonged to the financially low strata. So, and I didn't have anybody else to vent this to. My brother, I have a younger brother, but he's 3 years younger to me, and he was a kid, and all my things came out in paper. So I started writing poems at the age, I guess, in middle school. Everything, I have journals and journals and journals, anything and everything, just go and write, but I couldn't speak. So this was my formative years. And I thought, in my teeny brain, I thought, you know what? I need to give status to my parents. Yeah, because they're being ridiculed. There were numerous instances, you can't cover once when we meet in private, I'll tell you, numerous instances when they were humiliated. And, they would take it up in their stride and say, no, 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 it's okay. And I thought, if I become a doctor, people will start respecting my parents. And I studied 5 years of science, gave medical entrance in all the states that allowed me to get. And each time I flunked even miserably. But it took me 5 years. And then I realized, what am I doing? At least then when my dad said, what, you need to become a teacher. At least it'll give you a livelihood. That's when I said no. So by then I had this, when people my friends had Ravi Shastri's and, when circus pictures on their, and Govinda's pictures on their bedroom, I had Salman Rushdie and Vikram Seth in my books. So, but then I was not paying attention to that. So I said, now enough. Now, what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a famous writer, and that way my parents will get recognized. It was all from my parents. I wanted them to be recognized or, approved by society. And I didn't know if you want to write a book, you can do it. I thought only if you take journalism, you can do it. And that's why I went into journalism. And I was a square peg in a round hole in journalism as well. How can a shy, introverted girl become a journalist? It was such a tough thing for me to do for 20 years, initial years, because I was out reporting. That was too much. But I had command over the language. So that helped me. So I got into editing and became an editor, not out in the field and reporting. I can write any damn thing. So anyway, but then it was suffocating because that's not me. It is not at all me. And then I got married. I came here and came to Dubai in 1999. And that was another thing. I thought, you know what, now I'm going to write. I have my aim still, my goal, I'm going to write. But little did I know then that, we didn't have the sponsorship rights. My husband couldn't sponsor me. I had to get a sponsorship. So I had to get into a logistics firm first. That was another miserable. I couldn't, I'm very bad with numbers. You ask me my age and I'll count on my fingers even now. So converting dollars into dirhams and all those things, and logistics firm, I tell you, it was such a nightmare. Well, passed through, cutting the long story short, and our baby arrived, very planned baby, She was, we wanted her and she was born, and with the promise from my husband's company that they would give them visa by the time the child arrives. But, MNCs are MNCs when push comes to shove, and they didn't. 3 years. I had to leave my baby back with my mom in Hyderabad when she was 54 days old and came back. That was it, Nisha. That was it. I'm like, I missed everything of us, her first walk or everything. And that put in, until then, it was only a sort of, I want to prove something. I want to prove for my parents. But when this happened, when the system failed me, I became a woman with a vengeance, with a lot of angst in me. And that angst was giving rise to fear and insecurity. I didn't know at that time to intellectualize it this way, but that was what was happening in me that time. So 3 years later, when my baby came, by then, I was hopping jobs only for money, because I didn't want the system to fail me. I had seen enough of it. I had seen my parents being ridiculed. Now, when I am into my adulthood and when I have become a parent, now the system is coming to, put me back into the same rabbit hole. I said, no way. So I've changed 7 different jobs. Any company, any media company that said they're going to pay me 200 dirhams more and jump. It was just for that. So what happened was my family life was getting compromised. By the time we brought my baby here, she was going to nursery and then she started going to school. She used to go in the morning and I was working for newspapers. My newspaper shift starts only at 2 o'clock. So 2 to 11. By the time I come back, she's sleeping. So I get her, I just dress her up and pack her to school. That was the only thing that we had, a half an hour mom-daughter relationship until she was around 10 years old. And by the time she didn't need me, So the advantage of it is she became a very independent child, right from 3 years old. But looking back, she didn't need me at all. I don't know if she's grown up, she's 20 years old today and she's grown up into a beautiful young adult, and all credit goes to her, nothing to me. So this was, getting too much. Like I was such a frustrated journalist because I was a frustrated person. For me, according to me, I was a failed mother. I was a miserable, daughter. I couldn't do anything for my parents. And now I'm just trying to make again ends meet. So this took a physical toll on me. I was chronic backache. I've done everything from acupuncture to Ayurvedic to everything. And everybody said, and at last my orthoped said, you'll be wheelchair bound in 10 years time. But at that time, I didn't know it was all because of my, fucked up thing here. Well, cutting the long story short, in 2012, my parents had already moved by then to Kerala. My mom became a chronic depression patient, and we didn't know it was depression. Helpless, I'm here and she's there. She'll take you speak to her over the phone and she won't speak. It was that bad. That was my turning point. I started analyzing why the hell she was a cherry with roly-poly, such a live wire of the house she was. She was the one who held the family together. Anybody who goes on the road also was a friend in Hyderabad, And that kind of a lady sitting at home in Kerala was like, I started analyzing so much of self-introspection, and that's turned me to spirituality. And I understood it's because she had no purpose. Her purpose was her kids. No calling in life. It was all for her kids and then gone. And I realized I'm also doing the same thing. In a way, what am I doing? Where am I living my life? By the time my child was also around 10, 11 years old, and she started showing interest in art, and I was like, come on, you should become an artist and, go live your dreams. And I'm like, what kind of a fake parent am I, Children don't understand if you preach to them and tell them, you need to live your life and show it to them. What kind of a role model if I'm not living my life? And that was the whole turning point. And I delved deep, got into thought leadership and quantum physics and learned from the masters. And I understand my duality. And that was it. There's no looking back since. And at last, it took me around another 5-6 years. 2016, I said goodbye to journalism. And now I'm coaching people, professionals, with my skills that I have, not to go through the same rabbit hole, because we are all dual people, so that is who we are. That is what you say. You ask, be you, right? When you say be you, we don't understand. Being you is to understand the duality. We are all spiritual beings having a practical experience. So, but we only see at the practicality, only at the physicality. And that's like, riding a bicycle over the hill on one wheel. It's so strenuous. And it's only getting one, it's like a straight-jacketed horse only getting one view. And that is why you are so, whatever you're going through in life.
Nisha, you spoke about, the purpose, calling, right? And I think it happens with, I don't know about men, but for women who have spent their entire life taking care of their families, they have their dreams and passions, and they think that, okay, when time will arrive, I will do something, or when, my kids will grow up. How can we find the true calling or the purpose of our life? How would we know that, okay, this is what it is?
Yeah, exactly. That's so very important, Nisha. That is the crux. That is like the lock. That's like the key that will open the lock to your freedom and of you being you and for your purpose in life. Now, calling is nothing but your gift. Calling is your gift. Each one of us has a gift. Now, that can be big or small. It can be used hugely or minutely, but identify that. What is that so very thing that is so very unique only to you? Now that is your calling. That is why it's called calling. That is what is you're called to do. You're called to use this gift. That is your higher calling. Now coming to purpose. Now there are various versions and various schools of thought, but my life has taught me our ultimate or a higher purpose is to evolve, is to be one with the light, to be one with the source. Now, this is not religion. Now that's a whole problem. And it's only now people are talking about spirituality. Still, there is a huge section of people who think spirituality is woo-woo. It's not. It's mastering your energy. Spirituality is nothing but the science of mastering your energy. Spirituality is nothing but understanding the quantum world. Or spirituality at best is nothing but behavioral science. How you behave and conduct yourself in this 3D reality, in your physical reality, is nothing but spirituality. So, purpose is to see that you don't come back to this earth school anymore. You learn all your lessons and you shine like a diamond. That is when you've crossed all the challenges and you're pure love and pure light. That's what you say, love and light. You so mindlessly use love and light, love and light. What is it? You become that, and that's when you stop. That is the ultimate purpose. Now, to get to that purpose, there are various small purposes that we go through our lives. But the crux here is you need to grow through each purpose. Like as a teenager, our purpose is to study. You need to grow through that. You need to pass your schools and universities and find that whatever you want to learn. At 30, maybe it is to raise children. That is your purpose. At 40, maybe it is to facilitate, a happy retirement for your parents or whatever. At 50, maybe it is something else. So at each phase, your purpose is different. And unless you grow through that phase, you cannot see the next phase. Now, that is what is happening with people who are stuck in jobs. And this is all the funda is for any area of your life. Now, as I said, profession. People are stuck in professions because they don't grow or they outgrow and they don't acknowledge. So they just transition. You have, each time you grow through each purpose, you transition and transform and transcend. When you take that leap of faith, what you say, to identify your calling and living your path and walking your path, that is transcending. What most people do is, oh, this job is not nice, I'm stressed out, blah, blah, and they go take another job for what? For a higher payback. I was an idiot, I did the same thing. That is just transitioning on this level. First few months, you'll feel very good. After that, because you've not worked, right? You've not healed anything in yourself. You've not identified your core problems, nothing. You just took the jump and you distributed sweets because you got that race and you find, and same pattern will recur again. But you transform, you understand. Transforming is when you start choosing I'm just talking in terms of job now. It can be applied to relationships and social relationships, everything. So when you start transforming from transitioning, you start to see what is there in it for me? How can I grow as a person as well? That is when transformation happens. And then transcending happens. How can I, use my gifts, your calling? By the time you should have identified your calling. And how can I use that to serve? When you say serve, not the humanity at 8 crore people, even if it's one person, it's fine. That's when you're transcended. That's when you align. That's when you're at peace. That's when you embrace your duality. That's what you say, you're vibrating high. That's when you're love. And that's when you say love and light, not just sign love and light.
I really liked, the transitioning phase and then the transformation and then transcending. How would one realize that, okay, now I'm transforming? I'm at this phase where I have passed through the transitioning stage. And now I'm transforming into somebody, that I always wanted to, or probably this is what I meant to do. So I'm transforming. How would I at this age, I'm 42 now. Okay. So how would I at this age understand that, okay, am I at the transformation in this phase, or, what else do I have to do to get to that phase?
Number one is the very awareness that you are not transitioning or transforming, and that questioning itself is transforming. Transitioning is total 3D. You're only using your mind. Maybe you use your intuition 20%, but it's 80% mind. It's 80% what other people say. It's 80% what's how you're going to fit in. The perception is from outside to within.
Okay.
That is transition. Okay. Transformation is 50-50. You're like, no, I need to do something for myself also. And you let that intuition in little, and you take decisions based on the intuition, but then you're not still gotten there, right? Your one foot is still here. So it's a 50-50 dance, it's like a trance dance of two realms,
Okay.
that world and this world, 3D world and the higher world. You go there, sometimes go here, sometimes, so half time you're okay. But even in that state, so in three, when you're transitioning, you're always insecure, you're always in fear. You're always impatient, you're always jealous, you're always comparing. When you start transforming, you start becoming cynical. That's the first step of understanding you're transforming. You start becoming cynical because you are an optimist, but then you become extra pessimist also. But you're not so much in fear. You start seeing hope. Transitionary period, you're helpless. You're always blaming the other person. In transformation period, that becomes less.
Yeah.
You become an optimist, but an equally cynical pessimist. Because you've tasted that. You've tasted what it is. You want to get there fast. And transcending is when you take that leap of faith. You've identified your calling. You take that leap of faith. Now, what happens when you take that leap of faith most often is, if you aren't really surrendered, by then you need to learn how to surrender yourself. Surrendering is the ultimate thing. Now, surrendering, for most people, they say it's passive. It's not. That is the most active thing to do. To understand your duality, and surrendering is the most active thing, because by then you've understood you're so powerless. Only when you understand you're powerless can you become powered. And that's when you get into your authentic power. So everything, there is duality play. So when you understand this duality and your dual nature, you and me are all here alive because of some power.
Yeah.
It's not because of our heart is beating. It's not because our alarm clock is waking up us in the morning. Right? When you understand that, you realize you're so powerless. You're so powerful. And when you understand you're so powerless, that is the biggest power. Because you are that creation's part of the creation, right? That's created you. So you have that same power, right? All this 3D reality power of title and designation and homes and cars and all. No, beyond that, there is a power that if it is keeping you alive, you can tap into that power. And when that power, you understand, that is what is called authentic power. You say inner power, inner power. This is what is inner power is.
Wow.
And then you've transcended. But if you do not understand this and only you discover your calling and you transcend, you take that leap of faith. You say, in terms of, again, say jobs, okay? We're not talking about relationships or other things. In terms of job, if you've taken that leap of faith, you quit your job and quit. It's like jumping from one mountain to another. That's why it's called leap of faith. There are all chances you'll fall in between the gap. That is called, what, passing through the dark night of the soul. Because you know where you want to go, but you can't still see the designation. That's what you say. People say, oh, go through the tunnel, there's light at the end of the tunnel. All these, all these adages are so beautiful, whoever has created, but we don't understand the in-depth meaning of it. If at all we understood, life would have been more easy. And then you climb, you slip, you fall, you slip, you fall. It depends on our destiny, it depends on our script. How often you fall, how much of inner work you've done, how much of power you've harnessed within, how much you've surrendered. That easier it will be for you to climb up.
Wow, that's really, boom. It just came like boom. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, since you have been talking about job and your third book, When Your Job Sucks, right now it has become the best-selling book on Amazon. What are the remedies, or how can you help people who think that their job literally sucks and they have to get out of that and do something else?
Number one, Nisha, is, as I said, you need to discover your calling, because that gives you a breath of fresh air. It's like opening a window and letting in that little sunshine in. Okay. Now, if you can convert that calling into your career, nothing like it. Like you've done that. I've got the courage to do it now. Many people are doing it now. And most people do it when they're really at the breaking point and breakthrough. Okay, when they are in their 30s, it starts nudging them, and at 40s, it starts hammering them. And we intellectual human beings that we call it midlife crisis and say, no, 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 you know what? Little more savings, and then I'm going to wear my red pajamas and go to Bahamas and sip red wine. But it's not going to happen.
True.
Right? So the first thing is to identify a calling. If you can convert it into your career, fine. Most people can't do that. Liabilities, responsibilities, understand. Right? When you wake up at 30 and 40, you have kids going to school, university, aged parents, and facilitate this calling. It's very important. Like, for example, if your calling is to say simple thing like pottery, or say teaching kids, whatever, teaching kids something very unique, something, not tuition classes, or say something, how to carry themselves, or how to dress well, something unique, something little. Calling is not something mind-boggling out of the world. It could be something very simple as well. See to it with your regular job, you do that every day. Devote at least 1 hour to that. So what happens is then you will be always upbeat energy of you'll be vibrating high. And that is what we want. We don't want you to be vibrating at the fear level, at least halfway through, above hope. And once you start vibrating, you will naturally find the courage. You will start attracting more opportunities and something similar. Because what is our state of being is what we are attracting. So once you start venting it outside, naturally your tribe will change. And then your small ecosystem around you also will change.
So that's true. Yeah.
That needs to happen.
True. Now, be you. Yeah, you conduct this coaching program called Be You.
Yeah.
How can somebody try and be themselves?
Yeah, it's a 3-month program where you first understand this duality. You learn how to surrender. Then you discover, we help on the journey, we help discover the calling of that person and take action towards it. Taking action is the biggest step.
Okay.
That's what happens in Be You. So it's ideally to understand who we are. Once you understand who we are done, we are sorted. But when the moment you ask who we are, we'll say, oh, I am so-and-so, I'm so-and-so, I'm so-and-so's daughter. You know, I've got clients who say if they don't have a proper designation, I had one client who said, my grandfather worked for Nehru. She's still, you want to show that something which is socially acceptable. No, who you are is going inside and saying you are that soul who's come here on a purpose. That is it. All the other things are temporary and all the other things are given by others to you. Nothing is given by ourselves to us, right? Even our name is given by our parents to us. Our religion is given by our parents to our schools that we went to. And later on, it's all again, because we've been conditioned, we again try to fit in. So once we understand this, that we are a unique gift, you know, universe, what do you say? Universe runs a boutique over there, right? We are each unique designed pieces, designer pieces. There's only one, like a unique thumbprint. So universe creates us in a gift wrap manner and sends us here, and we just, you know, open the gift wrap, throw it, and want to be just like the other person. That's the whole thing. Once you understand that you are unique, in fact, that is there, right? Children write essay from 3 years old. We are unique, come on, write it. But you understand why we are unique.
Yeah.
What is that uniqueness in you which can serve others? And when you say serve others, it need not be the 8 billion people on the planet. It can be just your next door neighbor. That's why the big problem with homemakers. Homemakers feel so, you know, no, I'm qualified, educated, talented, but just because they're not working for somebody else, they think, I don't have anything. No, that's not how it is, right? Even that could be their calling.
Yeah.
Taking care of that home. I suck at it. I can't cook for my whatever it is, you know. I am very bad at it. So that could be their calling. So take pride in it. That's all.
True. Now now let's talk about your books. So from Anamika to the third book, what were the challenges that you faced
in terms of writing the book and
publishing? Yeah.
Oh, it was all a learning process because I've all self-published it. So, the first one was again because it was a huge challenge personally also for me because I always wanted to write and here people marketing executives are writing. That's how that book happened. I was in
Okay.
Gulf News when I wrote that book, and my marketing executive published her book, and I'm like, what the thing am I doing here? She's a marketing person and she's published, and I
Yeah.
always wanted to become a writer. So that's how it was, and that's when I wrote it. It was a fictional autobiography. Now it is an memoir, I would call it, because that is my journey from when I was 16, 17 years old until I wrote that book when I was 35, I guess, 34, 35, until that time. And why I call it a fictional autobiography then was because the last chapter I say in that I resigned my job and become a full-time speaker, coach, writer.
Mm-hmm.
It took me another 10 years to become. So now it's a memoir. But that's a novel in verse. And I published it. It was a huge, what do you say, learning curve. I didn't know how to publish it, I didn't know how to distribute it. And that is when I joined Toastmasters also, because I thought
Okay.
I have to speak about the book, you see. Authors
Yeah.
can't be writer, authors need to speak. And that's how I went and joined Toastmasters. It's only when I joined Toastmasters, I realized I know to speak. My problem is
Mm-hmm.
something else. My problem is internal, my fear of expressing, not about speaking. There's a difference between expressing and speaking.
True.
So that was what I had to learn. And then my second book was Step Out and Step It Up, is again my sort of autobiographical in the sense when I discovered what was my problem, stepping out, taking physical action, and stepping up, upping your energy game. That is what Step Out and Step It Up is. So that is a proper guide, how to do both, how to improve your vibrations and how to create the life that you need by accepting the quantum world. And the
Mm.
third one, when your job sucks is what we discussed, people transition only, they don't transcend. That's again my life. I mean, it's not throughout my life, it's a fable actually. I've
Mm-hmm.
constructed it around a fable so that people can identify. And the fable, I've deliberately kept it as a man because I was always said, now I speak only to women and talk to women. So I said, no, my protagonist is going to be a man this time.
Okay.
So men also go through the same thing. Men
Mm.
also go through, but they can't vent it out. And they don't have the freedom because society has not given them the freedom to vent out. Women at least can vent it out. There are a lot of men going through it. A lot of men stuck in jobs that they don't love, waiting for retirement. We are women are more lucky. And
Okay.
especially now with the Me Too's happening, people get, and that's why we can misuse it also. That's another story for another time.
Now, Nisha, when you look back and now, how has life changed?
Peaceful, joyful,
Hmm.
peaceful, joyful, confident. That's an irony. When I was a journalist, people thought I was very confident.
Hmm.
Just because I'm a journalist. People used to call me to give advices. But I was so shit scared like a headless chicken. But now I am. And I'm very peaceful, very joyful. And I've learned to accept it. I know, I don't know if I'm perfecting my role, but at least I know the role of a parent. I was a frustrated mother as well because I was not there for my daughter. But now I realize the role of a parent also. Role of a parent is to facilitate. You don't have to. That is another social ambiguity that I broke through. You don't have to be there finger holding your pinky of your children, doing things for them and taking decisions for them. No. So it's very peaceful, I would say, very peaceful and very content. Content, yeah. I think that's a word to use.
Okay.
It's not that I'm devoid of challenges. There
Hmm.
are, because my coaching practice is just starting off. So there are, and if you were to, if I had started this say 15 years back, I would have gone mad.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because there's no security of every 20th of the month my mobile pinging to say, oh, salary deposited. That's not there.
Yeah.
So, but I'm peaceful through.
And what are your future plans? Any new book coming up?
Yeah, books are there, of course. Books are there. I've got 2 manuscripts ready. But my future, what I really want to do is to express myself about all these learnings that I've had and the learnings I'm going through. Each day we learn, so that even if one person listens to it, then They don't have to wait for 20 years of their adulthood to change. I wasted almost, not, I wouldn't say wasted, but it took me 21 years of my adult life to know who I am, who the real me is. So I want to express myself in various formats, through books or through stages and shows like these or whatever, as many forums as such, to explain this. That's all. To express. I'm not here to teach. Whatever you resonate with, you take.
Now, you mentioned a very interesting thing just now, and this is one thing that I always ask my guests. Okay, and that is something that they get stuck at. Okay, now I know you as an author, I know you as a coach, a book, somebody who helps others with book writing, a book writing consultant. But who is Nisha Sanjeev?
Who is Nisha Sanjeev? Nisha Sanjeev is, man, what a question. Nisha Sanjeev is universe's gift, God's gift. Sounds very arrogant answer, but no. Nisha Sanjeev, yeah. Like you, me, we are all God's gift. And yeah, I'm God's gift. Trying my best to fulfill my soul's purpose. In all humbleness, trying my best to honor this opportunity to walk this planet. That's a thing, yeah. Trying my best to honor the opportunity. That's it. Because otherwise, what am I? I tried telling myself for the longest time after I transitioned, Nisha, honestly, you can go through my website and see, I had not put a designation to myself because I was so, what am I? I didn't know. I called myself a passionpreneur. I called myself a transformation strategist. You can see my old videos, how I've explained. God, I laugh at myself now. So all that I went through, that's none of it. That's me. Even now, okay, when on my bio, I write a purpose initiator and a writing consultant. That is what I do.
Yeah.
I initiate people into their purpose so they align with their careers. I'm a writing consultant. I initiate people into writing their books. I'm a mom because I've birthed my child. I'm a wife because I'm a partner to my husband in the institution called marriage, what society has said. So beyond, if you take all that off, I'm God's gift to this planet.
Great. And one last message to our viewers.
Please discover your calling. For that, you need to surrender yourself, quiet your mind, and say this to yourself. Looking into the mirror and saying, I love you, I am enough. All those are good tools. All those are good tools to boost you up. But understand, you are a gift. That is why you and me are alive. Otherwise, you would have gone from the surface of this planet. That's something that needs to be discovered. That is why you're being given another chance of another sunrise. So please discover what is that you are gift wrapped and sent. And try to express that. That's it.
Well, that's very hard hitting. Time and again, when you are saying this, that try to understand that you are alive because there's a reason, right? There's a purpose.
There is. Otherwise, we would have gone, right? How many natural disasters are happening? How many man-made disasters are happening? It's not because you and me decided we are going to be safe in the house that we are here, right? We could have been on the train that crashed. We could have been on the road that car running, whatever. Right? We'll take all our safety precautions. I'm not saying we are insane. We are just walking in zombie land. No, we will do everything what we can, but there is a force that is keeping us alive, right?
Thank you. Yeah.
Identify that.
Thank you so much, Nisha, for that nuggets of wisdom that you shared today. Thank you so much for coming over. I know you are a very busy person. I send you a message in the morning and you check the message at night. So I thought, oh my God, am I disturbing her?
I get this complaint always because I check my WhatsApp fully in the morning and evening.
That's
good because I knew you were coming. That's why. Because too many groups, so many groups, and then
that's good. And you actually, when you did that, I asked myself, Nisha, you need to do this because there are so many groups, as you said, and every second, I'll be checking my message. There won't be anything special, but it is distracting. So thank you for that lesson also. Yeah, thank you so much that you came today. And It was my
You are
pleasure.
no, my pleasure too. You are such a shrewd and attentive listener. I really enjoyed speaking to you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank
much
you.
for having me on. God bless.
Thank you. Thank you to each one of you who was watching us live on Talksopedia. I will be back next Friday with a new guest. Till then, have a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.